Divine Revelation, your sacred waiting holds 3 miraculous deliverances awaiting manifestation. In a quaint English parish, nestled beneath the gaze of a venerable oak tree, whispers of divine promise hovered thick in the air. Right there, in that sacred space, Sarah, a devoted mother and church leader, anchored her heart to her faith even as shadows of financial despair threatened to consume her beloved home. The parish, with its sun-drenched stained glass windows throwing vibrant colors upon the stone floor, had become a refuge, a testament to love and devotion. Yet hope seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind. Each evening, the community gathered, their voices blended in fervent prayers to their beloved saint, seeking miracles that felt far from reach. Words of longing spilled out like sweet incense, rising towards the heavens. The congregation, hand in hand, lit candles, and illuminated faith hung in the air like a warm embrace. Divine intervention is ours, they proclaimed, their voices lifting like doves, but as days bled into weeks, familiar doubts began to surface, murmurs weaving through the hearts of her neighbors. Perhaps prayer isn't enough, they whispered, the skepticism gnawing at Sarah like a thief in the night. Even as she sought solace in the sacred, she found herself holding on to the frayed edges of hope, wondering if she was beginning to lose faith herself. And yet, memories of God's unwavering goodness washed over her, each biblical miracle igniting a flicker of resistance deep within her spirit. As if the heavens conspired against her, the unthinkable struck like a bolt of lightning. Her youngest, little Thomas, was admitted to the hospital, gravely ill. Heartbroken, she fell to her knees at the altar of her church, tears streaming down her face, the weight of her anguish heavy on her soul. "Please," she cried, "deliver us from this darkness." Out of the stillness, an elderly pastor approached, his eyes filled with a depth of understanding. "Sarah," he said softly, "3 miraculous deliverances await you." Each word was like a balm on her aching heart, igniting a flicker of faith within her once more. "Your painful wait is not in vain." With renewed vigor, she rallied the community, imploring everyone to join in prayer. Together, they raised their voices in a chorus woven with passion and urgency. Just when the darkness seemed to thicken, the miraculous began to unfold. Unexpected donations arrived, a relative long forgotten reached out to mend broken ties, and little Thomas began to recover, his cheeks flushing with the color of life. However, hovering like a mist were questions unanswered. What could the 3rd deliverance be? Sarah wrestled with the sweet agony of hope, standing on the precipice of uncertainty. Could it be the strength to face the trials still ahead? As she gathered with the community to pray one more time, the room filled with a longing that wrapped around each heart like a warm embrace. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment hovered, heavy with expectation. With each prayer, the atmosphere buzzed, the scent of holiness thick in the air. Would they witness the complete manifestation of God as promises, or would they face an even darker trial? As Sarah looked around at her community, she could see the faith flicker like a bright torch, each face radiating trust, hope wrapped in vulnerability. Together, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever deliverance awaited them, united in faith, standing firm at the edge of the unknown. As the congregation held hands in a chain of faith, the warmth of shared belief flowed among them like a cherished melody. Each face reflected a story, a dream, and an urgency. Sarah felt the pulse of hope thrumming through her, and she knew they were all in this together. "He will not forsake us," she whispered, her voice weaving through the rising prayers. The elderly pastor stood at the altar, his silhouette framed by the glowing candles. "Let us be still and listen. In our silence, we may hear his direction," he urged. The room quieted, and the sacred stillness wrapped around each heart like a gentle embrace. Sarah closed her eyes and let the tears flow freely, her soul reaching upward, longing for clarity and peace. In that moment of hushed reverence, it came to her a vision of light, bright and pure. It illuminated the darkest corners of her mind, dispelling doubts and fears. She saw the faces of those she loved, little Thomas, his laughter filling the room, her husband, steadfast and loving, and the entire community, bound together by unwavering faith. "Will you strengthen our resolve, Lord?" she breathed, sensing the stirring of the Holy Spirit among them. An inexplicable peace washed over her, filling her heart with the courage to face the unknown. After the moment passed, the pastor opened his arms wide, his voice rising. "It is done. God is moving among us. Blessings are being poured out." A wave of murmured amens rolled through the congregation. Each word was a thread pulling them closer to divine truth. Days turned into nights, and as the calendar pages flipped, miracles flowed like rivers. Food and money began to pour in, fueling the church's outreach. Neighbors extended kindness, running errands, bringing meals, and easing Sarah's burden. Yet still, Sarah wrestled with her internal struggle, highlighted by the faith flickering in their midst. What awaited her? Was the final deliverance still hidden? Could it be the strength to forgive those who had doubted her? It loomed like a shadow over her spirit, challenging and beckoning her forth. One afternoon, while she sat burdened by lingering questions, a close friend, Miriam, stepped into her home. "Sarah, do you remember our Bible studies? You taught me that God works in the unseen, that we must trust His timing," she reminded her, her voice an anchor in the storm of uncertainty. Sarah smiled weakly, "But what if it's not enough?" Miriam leaned closer, her eyes filled with earnestness. "He promises us the unexpected, dear friend. Just look around. Every act of kindness is a display of His love. Your faith has inspired others." Outside, the church bells rang out, echoing through the parish like a heartbeat. In that moment, Sarah understood miracles weren't just emergencies, they were daily grace, reflections of God's love manifesting among others. The third deliverance was transforming lives, nurturing faith, and healing brokenness not just within her family, but within the community itself. As Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude, she knew she must share this revelation. Would her community see it too? Filled with newfound determination, she gathered the congregation once again, her voice steady and clear. "Let us celebrate not just our blessings but the strength we find in each other." As she spoke, eyes filled with recognition and joy sparkled back at her. Together, they rose, lifted hands towards the heavens, and sang praises that echoed through the sacred walls. But even as they rejoiced, a question lingered in the air: what further miracles awaited them? What hidden plans did God still have in store? The light of hope began to shine even brighter, just as the community was ready for the next step of its journey together. As the sound of joyful song faded, a hush fell over the congregation. Sarah stood at the front, gazing out at her friends and neighbors, all bound together by faith. A remarkable warmth enveloped her, filling her with a sense of purpose. The moment was ripe for something extraordinary. "Friends," she called out, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "We have journeyed so far together, witnessing acts of kindness and love. But I feel we are on the verge of even greater miracles. What if our faith can unlock doors we haven't even imagined?" The room buzzed with anticipation. Murmurs of agreement flowed through the crowd. With every nod and smile, Sarah felt her spirit soar. It was as if a veil was being lifted, revealing a path illuminated by hope. Miriam reminded me that God often works in ways we don't see. It's like seeds growing underground, roots spreading, preparing for a time to push through to the surface. Her words brought nods of recognition and whispers of amen. "Let us ask ourselves," she continued, "what if our waiting is part of His grand design? What if He is preparing us for something more than we can fathom? What if the miracles we seek are already unfolding around us, waiting for us to embrace them?" A sense of wonder settled over the crowd. Sarah could see the flickers of realization dance in their eyes. They were beginning to awaken to a deeper understanding of their faith, a faith that embraced patience just as fervently as it demanded action. Just then, the pastor stepped forward, his presence commanding yet gentle. "Sarah, what you've ignited is beautiful. We are meant to walk together in faith, waiting, hoping, and believing." The congregation responded with a chorus of "Yes, Lord," mingled with applause. It was evident that the atmosphere had shifted. They were no longer merely speaking of miracles, they were prepared to live in expectation of them. As the pastor prayed over them, asking for continued strength and vision, the lights flickered momentarily, as though heaven itself had joined their gathering. Sarah felt an electric current pulse through the room, a divine promise wrapping around each heart present. After the service, friends lingered, sharing stories of transformation they had witnessed in one another. Miracles were no longer abstract ideas, they were becoming tangible realities in their lives. Sarah took a moment to step aside, letting the laughter of her community wash over her like sweet rain. She closed her eyes, cherishing the moment. The love was palpable, a reminder that they were indeed in this together. In the days that followed, Sarah reflected on the essence of her spiritual journey. The lingering questions she once held began to fade, replaced by a serene acceptance of God's timing. She delved deeper into Scripture, searching for stories of renewal and miracles. Her heart ached with a desire to embody that love, to shine brightly for others, just as she had felt that light within herself. But little did Sarah know, the true test of their faith was yet to come. Just as she felt a shared unity blossoming, shadows began to creep back into the periphery of their peace. Doubts that had been safely tucked away in the corners of her mind resurfaced, whispering doubts about whether the good times would last. Could the community hold together amidst potential turmoil? With a heart clenched in a mix of hope and apprehension, Sarah pondered the upcoming week's festival, a time meant to celebrate their faith and generosity. What if the threats hovered closer than they realized? What if, in the midst of blessing, darkness sought to disrupt their joy? As she stepped out into the soft evening light, Sarah's heart whispered a prayer, a desire for confirmation of God's presence in the coming days. She felt a shiver in the breeze, a reminder that they were under divine watch. What would they face together? Would their newfound bond withstand the trials that loomed on the horizon? The path was becoming increasingly uncertain, and yet, the mystery of God's greater plan loomed large in her heart. The evening skies deepened, filling with stars, calling Sarah to trust once more. Would faith prove stronger than fear, illuminating the hidden plans waiting to unfold? Where would the journey lead them next? The sacred wait for revelation was just beginning. The days leading up to the festival felt like a delicate dance. Sarah watched as her community buzzed with excitement. Banners were unfurled, tables were set out, and laughter filled the air. Yet beneath the surface, uncertainty tugged at her heart. Each cheerful smile reminded her of the shadows that lingered, whispering doubts she couldn't quite shake. Amidst the festivities, Sarah found herself frequently pausing. She would pull back from the noise, closing her eyes to listen for God's voice. Her favorite spot was a quiet nook under a large oak tree in the churchyard. It was here that she felt the gentle nudges of assurance, each moment spent in prayer bringing a renewed sense of peace. On one particular afternoon, as she sat with her hands clasped, Sarah suddenly felt the ground beneath her tremble. Startled, she opened her eyes. Was the earth responding to her prayer? A sense of urgency filled her spirit. She sensed something significant was about to unfold, beyond the merriment surrounding her. The following day, a hush fell over the congregation again as the festival commenced. Candles flickered like stars in the twilight, illuminating faces filled with hope and love. Sarah, standing on the stage, gathered her courage as she looked out at the crowd. "Dear friends," she began, her voice steady despite the tremor of excitement within her. "This celebration is not merely for us to enjoy the blessings we see but to acknowledge those unseen, the miracles waiting to be birthed in our lives." An encouraging chorus of "Amen" rose from the audience, resonating deep within Sarah. In the Scriptures, we are reminded that God's ways are higher than ours. Just as the seed breaks forth from the soil, our faith, too, must burst forth from the cracks of uncertainty. Her heart raced as she prepared to share her thoughts. But remember this, the wait is sacred. In our waiting, we are being shaped, refined. Sometimes it feels as if God hides behind a veil, but in truth, He is crafting something extraordinary. As she spoke, Sarah caught glimpses of nodding heads, faces that mirrored the hope she felt rising. Yet beneath her confident words, the question loomed: how would they bear the weight of unexpected trials soon to be revealed? Just as the evening reached its peak, a man from the outskirts of the congregation stepped forward. His face was serious, yet there was a glimmer of determination in his eyes. "We cannot celebrate while some in our community are still hurting," he said, raising his voice to cut through the festive air. The crowd quieted, tension mingling with anticipation. "I speak for many who feel lost. The struggles of life loom large, but I believe we can stand together. We must shine our light, not just for ourselves, but for those who need it most." A ripple of murmurs surged through the audience, an awakening. Sarah felt the call to action seize her heart. Could this be a pivotal moment in their shared journey? As she caught the pastor's eye, he nodded, encouraging her to lead not just with words but with her heart. "You're right," she called out. "Let us be the hands and feet of Christ. Together, we can reach those in need." In that instant, a spark ignited among the crowd, and warmth spread through them. They began to share stories, testimonies of struggle and triumph, each person lifting one another with words of encouragement, holding the promise of hope close. But even as she reveled in the moment, Sarah felt the shadows lurking still, waiting for the right moment to strike. She wondered if they were strong enough to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The festival glowed on, yet a resolute feeling filled her heart. The promise of unity was stunning and powerful. However, who would stand firm as the storm approached? Would their faith shine forth when darkness sought to engulf them? With anticipation swirling, Sarah leaned into the embrace of prayer, believing in miracles bound for their community. She knew that answers were not always swift or apparent, but rather formed in the fabric of their combined faith. What trials awaited them in the days to come? What hidden treasures would emerge from their waiting? The unfolding story was just beginning. As the festival wore on, Sarah found herself swept away in a whirlwind of conversation and connection. The laughter and joy pulsated through the air, creating a tapestry of love that enveloped her community. Yet, even amidst the bright colors and festive sounds, there lingered an electric undercurrent of tension, a collective anxiety woven into the joyful fabric. Sarah stood at the edge of the crowd, observing couples dancing, children playing, and elders reminiscing over shared stories. She whispered a prayer of gratitude, appreciating the joy that surrounded her. But a small voice within her nudged insistently, urging her to remain vigilant. Something was brewing, a change peeking just over the horizon. Suddenly, a hush fell across the gathering as the pastor stepped forward, a heavy expression clouding his face. "Beloved," he began, clearing his throat, "the joy we celebrate today stands in contrast to the heartache faced by many among us." The crowd fell silent, each person sensing the weight of his words. "We have heard cries for help," he continued. "There are families among us struggling to find hope, individuals battling despair. We have the power to carry each other's burdens, to become the hands and feet of our faith." His voice reverberated through the stillness, stirring hearts like the gentle stirring of the sea before a storm. Sarah felt unease shift into determination as she stepped forward again. "Let us be vessels of His love, embody His grace in action. Together, we can show the world that our faith isn't just a warm feeling, but a tangible, moving force of goodness." A chorus of amens erupted, filling the air with fervor. The pastor gestured towards a small cluster of individuals sitting to the side, their faces marked with worry and sorrow. "They need us now, more than ever. Some lack food to face tomorrow, while others bear burdens too heavy to carry alone. Can we rise to help?" Light seemed to radiate from the hearts surrounding them, illuminating possibilities yet unseen. A woman in the front waved her hand with urgency. "I can gather food. I know where we can contribute." Her voice rang with enthusiasm, kindling sparks of inspiration around her. Others joined in, their ideas forming a bright constellation of hope. From creating a food drive to organizing a prayer group for those in distress, they began mapping out action rooted in compassion. Sarah felt the shadows retreating, replaced by a collective courage that made her heart swell, but a flicker of doubt still hung in the air. Would their efforts truly meet the needs? Would their act of faith be strong enough to reach those on the edges, those who felt unseen? Just as Sarah wrestled with these thoughts, a tremor of anticipation pulsed through her spirit again. In the midst of planning, an elderly man, a once treasured leader of the church, stepped forward. His white hair glowed under the twilight, and his voice, though shaky, rang with conviction. "Let me share a story," he said, and the crowd hung on his words. As tales of resilience and faith flowed from his lips, the crowd leaned in closer, smiles creeping onto their faces. Hope bloomed, even amidst struggles, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a divine orchestration at play, yet the storm Sarah feared loomed ever closer, dark clouds gathering on the horizon of their unity. Would they be able to stand firm, drawn together by faith in God's unimaginable goodness? Would their hearts remain steadfast against whatever trials approached? As the twilight dimmed into night, Sarah closed her eyes briefly, breathing in the presence of her community and lifting her heart in gratitude. Behind each burden lay the promise of miraculous deliverance, but what awaited them in the days to come? What revelations would propel them into a deeper faith and unexpected blessings? With a feeling of sacred anticipation, the festival continued, resting on the cusp of transformation. The journey ahead shimmered with uncertainty, but one thing was clear: each soul present was now bound in purpose and love. What divine surprises awaited them? Where their waiting would culminate in actions of faith? Would the hidden treasures be revealed in the cracks of their struggles? The story, vibrant with possibility, was only just beginning. As the night deepened, the stars began to twinkle like diamonds scattered across a velvet sky. The festival's laughter softened into a gentle hum, as conversations drifted into quieter corners of soft-spoken hopes and dreams. The air felt thick with expectation, a divine energy coursing through the gathered hearts. Sarah's chest tightened with both excitement and trepidation, and the gentle whispers of the past hollowed out the space for the unfolding future. The elderly man, having just shared a moving story of faith that inspired many, opened a door to deeper reflection. His words hung in the air like scents of incense, each story a seed planted in fertile ground. Sarah felt those seeds stirring within her. Perhaps God was inviting them all into a new chapter, a chapter not just of giving but of receiving. They were about to experience the power of community like never before, but just as clarity rose like dawn light, a rumble of discontent echoed through the crowd. A young mother, tears shimmering in her eyes, stood up and faced the sea of faces. "I appreciate all the talk of helping, but what if our help isn't enough?" Her voice trembled, vulnerable, yet poignant. "What if we can't fill the hunger, the despair? What if they don't want our help?" A silence fell once more, this time heavy and thick. Sarah felt her heart race as the weight of all those questions settled upon the gathering. She recognized that sometimes, waiting in faith means wrestling with doubt. It means finding strength in vulnerability. What if their faith was not about perfect solutions, but about the act of trying together? Drawing on inspiration from the stories they had heard, she stepped forward, heart pounding like a drum echoing in unity. But what if our effort, however small, brings hope to one struggling soul? What if a simple meal shared becomes a symbol of love, of connection? Maybe it's not just about filling stomachs, it's about filling hearts. A murmur rippled through the crowd, a collective shift from fear to faith. The pastor nodded, his eyes glinting with understanding. "Indeed, witness the seeds we've planted tonight. Love shared can ripple outward in ways we cannot always see. It could lead to a miracle we're unaware of right now." As conversations sparked anew, light began to blaze brighter in their hearts. Sarah noticed the young mother's expression shift from worry to a tentative smile. It wasn't just about addressing needs, it was about walking together through the unknown. Each member began sharing their stories of struggle and triumph, sewing threads of experiences into the fabric of their community's story. Amid this growing tapestry, surprises emerged in the unlikeliest of places. The elderly man raised his hand once more. He shared about a hidden garden on church grounds, a forgotten place now brimming with fruits and vegetables. "It's time to reclaim it," he said. "Divine providence awaits us there." A collective gasp followed, igniting sparks of curiosity and determination. What stories lay dormant there? What hope might bloom in that sacred soil? As ideas cascaded, excitement surged through the crowd. They formed groups, resolving to weed, plant, and tend to this hidden garden, helplessness transforming into community action. Joy began to replace lingering doubts. It was as if newfound purpose danced in the air around them, but as Sarah reflected on this fresh beginning, a quiet thought crept through her mind. Would the task before them truly stir something new? Would the garden harness the power they sought to unleash? Just how far would their efforts reach? As laughter broke the tension again, intertwined with prayers for guidance, they couldn't help but wonder. What if their meek offerings were indeed enough? What if, in their simple waiting and striving, they were on the brink of something monumental? The moon hung high, casting a glow over the gathering, each heart a vessel, ready to embrace divine instruction. Could the fulfillment of that sacred promise be looming just ahead, waiting to be borne by their hands and hearts? In this enchantment of the night, they found themselves closer than before, standing on the edge of an unfolding miracle. What revelations awaited them as they ventured into the garden, and how might it redefine their understanding of faith? The adventure was far from over, and with each step, the tapestry was woven even tighter. The gathered community buzzed with ideas, optimistic hearts beating in unison, near the hidden garden that lay under a blanket of uncertainty and promise. Each friend exchanged smiles and plans, visions sparkling in their eyes like constellations in the night sky. Together, they were stepping into a sacred journey, hands ready to cultivate both soil and spirit. As they approached the garden, the air seemed to shift, heavy with expectation. The stars above winked knowingly, as though whispering encouragement. The twisted vines, once remnants of neglect, suddenly felt like an ancient path toward renewal. Sarah could feel the pulse of energy flowing through everyone, an unspoken belief that today was significant, filled with possibilities just waiting to be released. Now, the elderly man began, his voice warm and gentle, "Let us take a moment to pray over this earth. It's a canvas of hope." They formed a circle, close and comforting, the pale moonlight caressing their faces as they bowed their heads. Sarah felt the weight of their shared intentions lifting, turning toward something larger than themselves. "Lord, may every seed we plant here bloom with love and nourishment. Let this garden be a beacon of light in our community." The moment was electric. Life swirled around them, caressing their spirits like a summer breeze. When they opened their eyes, something remarkable shifted in the atmosphere. The garden seemed more vibrant, more alive, as if it had been listening all along. With shovels and spades in hand, they began to dig, breaking through the surface of the earth. As dirt clumped and fell away, stories began to emerge alongside roots and stones. One by one, each person shared what this garden meant to them, cultivating a deeper sense of belonging among them. "I remember my grandmother used to say, 'The earth has a way of nurturing our souls,'" a young man shared, laughter carrying warmth through his words. "This feels like a tribute to those roots." Laughter echoed, mingling with the rustle of leaves, and tears of joy rolled down Sarah's cheeks as she absorbed the moments unfolding around her. Each laugh, every comforting word, felt like a tiny miracle. They were not just planting seeds in soil, they were planting hope in their hearts. Hours melted away as the sun slowly dipped, fading into hues of violet and gold. A satisfying weariness settled in, yet the spark of excitement flickered brightly. They had revived not just the soil but each other's spirits, finding a family among the remnants of what once was. "So, what's next?" a woman asked. "How do we ensure this garden brings growth beyond our physical harvest?" A hush fell over them, the question hanging in the air. It was a poignant reminder that their effort had to go beyond this moment. Would it extend into the community? Would the impact spread like roots seeking water? They had tilled the earth, but what of the hearts they had touched? Sarah's heart swelled as inspiration ignited within her. What if we invite the community to join us? Share the fruits of our labor with those who need it most? Every hand can tend to this garden, every heart can be touched. Nods of agreement resonated in their circle, igniting a flicker of hope that shone brighter than before. Excitement buzzed through them, the idea sprouting with newfound vigor. This was more than a garden, it would become a sanctuary, transforming lives, connecting souls over shared meals and laughter. As the last rays of sunlight kissed the garden, an ache of anticipation danced beneath the surface. Would their collective dreams blossom into reality? How might their community evolve into a tapestry woven with acts of kindness and unified purpose? God's plan is often a mystery, the elderly man mused, but what if we're meant to unveil it together? A shiver of excitement coursed through the gathering. What miraculous surprises lay ahead as they dared to dream, as they ventured deeper into the heart of faith? Their journey had just begun, and with each step taken, they were closer to discovering the magic that awaited them. Would their humble beginnings yield an astonishing legacy of love and unity? As twilight deepened into night, the stars above twinkled with the promise of inspiration. The gathered friends sat under the vast sky, their hearts thrumming with anticipation. With their hands sore yet satisfying from their labor, they shared stories and dreams, visions that danced freely among them. Laughter bubbled like a gentle brook, a healing balm that filled the air with a sense of connection. Sarah felt a warmth spread through her. What if we also create a space for sharing our journeys? The struggles, the joys, every moment can be a seed for others, she suggested, her eyes sparkling with hope. A gentle hum of agreement flowed through the group. Each heart resonated with the idea of giving a voice to their experiences. This was more than a simple garden, it was a refuge, a sacred place where vulnerability could lead to authenticity, where love could conquer fear. I can remember a time when I felt so alone, a quiet woman spoke, her voice trembling with the weight of memory. It was a kindness from a stranger that brought me back to life. I want to give that back. I want our garden to be a space where anyone can feel embraced. As her words drifted into the night, a hushed awe fell over the gathering. They realized they were crafting not just a garden, but a sanctuary of hope and healing. The elderly man smiled softly, his eyes shining under the stars. You see, dear friends, when we nurture our souls, we open ourselves to divine possibilities. This garden will not merely yield vegetables, it will cultivate relationships, faith, and love. His words settled into their hearts, echoing truths they all deeply understood. Together, they would weave a tapestry of blessings, one thread at a time, creating a space where all were welcome. Let us plan how we can reach out. A young boy chimed in, his enthusiasm infectious. What if we host feasts, where everyone can taste the fruits of our labor? We can have music and share stories. The idea ignited the group, laughter and excitement buzzing in the air. They felt a sacred urgency to extend their love beyond the garden, to encompass the entire community. Each heart was a vessel overflowing with divine inspiration. As they plotted and planned, Sarah felt a stirring within her. Maybe we could offer workshops. Teach people how to grow their own food and encourage them to start their own gardens, she proposed. It could be a ripple effect, spreading love through each seed we share. A beautiful notion. Another voice piped in, awakening dreams and hopes yet unnamed. Ideas flowed, almost like prayers whispered into the gathering night, echoing God's promise of abundance and connection. They spent the evening sketching out plans, their voices rising and falling like waves, the garden before them illuminated by the glow of shared dreams. Each hour passed with fruitfulness, a manifestation of the Holy Spirit at work. Yet, amidst the fervor, a silent question lingered: how would their dreams materialize? Would love, planted deeply, take root and blossom? As night enveloped them, something shifted in the air. The moon hung low, brilliant and watchful. The whispers of possibility surrounded the group like a caressing wind, swirling and dancing through the leaves. Suddenly, a sense of expectation unfurled, palpable and stirring. What lay waiting just beyond the garden? What divine blessings awaited them in the heart of their community? Would they step boldly into this divine revelation, or would doubts cloud the vision they were birthing together? With hearts ignited by prayer and purpose, they prepared to step into the unfolding mystery. Would their faith guide them toward the transformative journey that lay ahead? The next morning, the sun rose with a vibrant glow, spilling golden light over the garden that had blossomed in their hearts. Each ray felt like a divine reminder, urging the friends to take the next step. Their dreams were alive, and the air buzzed with the excitement of what was to come. As they gathered again, the atmosphere was charged with purpose. Sarah stood at the center, her heart racing with anticipation. "Let us not just plan," she urged, her voice steady yet filled with hope. "Let us pray for direction. Let us ask the Lord to guide our hands and hearts." The group formed a circle, each person holding hands tightly. As they bowed their heads, a stillness enveloped them, and a wave of peace washed over the gathering. They prayed fervently, lifting their intentions skyward. One by one, they spoke whispers of dreams, shouts of faith. They poured out their hearts, seeking clarity and strength. In the midst of their prayers, an unexpected rustle came from the nearby trees. The sound caused a stir among them, as they glanced up in curiosity. Slowly, a small bird flitted down, landing among them. Its vibrant feathers shimmered, pulsing with life and energy. It chirped cheerfully, as though it had come to bear witness to their devotion. "That's a sign," gasped the quiet woman from the night before. Her eyes sparkled. "It must mean our hopes are reaching heaven." As they watched the bird, a thought took root within Sarah. What if we let our garden be a home for creatures like this? A sanctuary for all who need it? Everyone deserves a safe space. She looked around, gauging their reactions. A chorus of agreement rose among them. "Yes. We'll create a haven, not just for people, but for all living beings." With renewed energy, they discussed how to make the garden welcoming places for benches, blooming flowers, and comfortable nooks. They envisioned welcoming rainwater for plants, a reflection pool for the soul, a place where the spirit could soar as freely as the bright bird before them. And just then, a thought struck one of the elders, his voice gentle but firm. "Amid this good work, we must remember the importance of kindness in every step we take. Our actions and words must reflect the love we wish to cultivate here. Let us invite neighbors to join us, to share their stories and hearts." A beautiful reminder. Another voice chimed. "Let us reach out and show them how meaningful our garden can be." As they filled the day with plans and laughter, they found themselves united in faith, honoring the presence of the divine in their midst. Each moment felt heavy with possibility, the kind that brings tears of gratitude for every breath and heartbeat shared in harmony, but still, there lingered a question, deep and pressing in Sarah's heart. Were they ready for the impact they sought? Could they truly foster a community of openness and connection? Would their dreams ignite a flaming hope, or would they just whisper into the winds? As the sun began to dip toward the horizon again, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, anticipation hung thick in the air. The garden was coming to life, and yet, the path ahead felt shrouded in mystery. What awaited them in bringing such sacred dreams to life? Would they have the courage to embrace the unknown unfolding before them? Their hearts longed to discover the miracles waiting just beyond the gate, a divine revelation beckoning in the shadows of their hope. As dawn's light broke over the quiet parish, shimmering across the dew-kissed grass, Sarah felt an exhilarating charge in the air, a sacred anticipation enveloping her heart. Today was a day of divine revelation, a day to witness the culmination of their waiting. The garden bustled with new life, every flower and vine seeming to sing a harmonious song of gratitude. Gathered beneath the towering oak, the community joined together, ready to unveil their work. Sarah stood before her friends, her heart throbbing with gratitude, and she began, "Beloved family, today we gather not just to see the fruits of our labor but to celebrate the miracle of our unity." Her voice rang out, steady yet vibrant, infusing the air with the energy of hope. The crowd responded with cheers, their faces alight with joy and anticipation. As they moved together toward the garden, Sarah's eyes shimmered with tears, a sign of the sacred atmosphere that had enveloped them through their struggles and victories. Past the blooming sunflowers, near the splashes of color from the wildflowers, together they had created a sanctuary that radiated God's love. It was more than soil and seeds, it was a testament to their collective faith, a reflection of the countless prayers and acts of kindness that had flowed through each heart. "Look!" shouted one of the children, pointing towards ripe tomatoes heavy on the vine. "God's blessings are here." Laughter erupted, filling the air with a sweet melody that danced upon the gentle breeze. As the sun glimmered brightly, Sarah recalled the prophecy of 3 deliverances spoken over her in the dim light of the altar. She had witnessed the fulfillment of the first 2, the financial relief that had poured in like a river, and little Thomas's recovery that brought joy back to their home. Now, the 3rd deliverance stood before her, not as a single act of God, but as a tangible presence woven through their community, a lively, breathing testament of love that was infinitely greater than any one individual miracle. Sarah raised her hand, drawing the crowd's attention. "Today, we fully embrace our 3rd deliverance. The miracle of togetherness, the miracle of community, the miracle of love." With shouts of joy, the congregation rallied around her. Every glimmer of hope, every shared story and gesture of kindness had manifested something extraordinary. They had transformed individual struggles into a collective triumph, changing not only their own lives but also the lives of those who felt unseen or unheard. As the festivities unfolded, laughter intertwined with heartfelt music, igniting the spirit of joy. Old and young alike sat at the long tables laden with food, a bounty harvested from their newly nurtured garden of scrubbed hands and spirited hearts. A voice rang out. "This feast is for all. Let us celebrate our journey, together." And they did, sharing plate after plate, each bite consumed with the promise of what lay ahead. But just then, a flicker of doubt surged through Sarah's heart. Would this moment linger? Would the joy endure beyond this day? She felt the fear nipping at her heels, whispering uncertainties as shadows so often do. Yet, at that moment, a group of children began to dance, their movements innocent and joyous, reminding Sarah that perhaps faith was meant to be celebrated in simplicity, like laughter weaving through the air or the light of a candle illuminating darkness. Her heart melted, washing away fears as she understood that the true magic lay in their community's commitment to nurturing each other, rooting firmly in prior trials. As the sun began to set, she gathered the community once more. "Friends, remember this moment. Our garden, our love, our laughter, it's just the beginning. The seeds we sow today will blossom far beyond what we can see." The crowd erupted into applause, filled with a renewed strength that rippled through the hearts around her. With every hug exchanged, with every prayer lifted, a sense of divine resolution settled over them like a canopy of protection. They were a lighthouse in each other's lives, guiding one another through any storm, and so, they continued tending to the garden, sharing their growth and blessings. One by one, their dreams took root, blooming with each step they took together. Sarah smiled, no longer burdened by the weight of her earlier fears. She felt enveloped in warmth, the warmth of unity, the warmth of shared faith, and the warmth of divine love. The journey was theirs to embrace, and it was beautiful. "Let us remember," she called, as the stars began to twinkle above, "in our waiting, we find our purpose. This is the moment to plant love where it can flourish." The community cheered, their hearts entwined with love, brimming with hope as the story of their divine revelation unfolded, a testament that resonated through each soul, echoing into eternity. There was nothing left now but to move forward hand in hand, bold and bright, as they embraced the miracles that were sure to come next. And this is the moment you should take action, my friends. If you felt transformed by this story, you need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive faith stories that will inspire your journey. Don't wait even one more second, hit that like button and feed the algorithm, sharing the light of this message. Please comment below, sharing your own reactions and testimonies about this divine conclusion. Lastly, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this sacred manifestation. Together, let us spark contagious faith and ignite hearts everywhere.